Hello everyone, I am Shivam Banka and welcome to this new episode of Management Case Study Interview. The purpose of this video is to give an understanding of how a management case study interview goes and what is expected of you. This video is divided into two parts. In the first part, I'll be going through the interview and present line by line understanding of it and present how it is progressing. In the second part, I will be analyzing the interview as a whole. Uh, for context, all the black text with blue background, which you see is the statement of the interviewer, and all the blue text with white background you see is the statement of the candidate. Today, we are doing a case study interview where our client is a fast food industry, is operating in a fast food industry. So let's begin. Your client is the owner of a famous burger chain in India with various outlets located in and around major tech cities, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Pune, near the major tech parks and major shopping malls. For the past 2 years, you are facing decline in profits. What's the reason behind it, and how would you improve the profits? So the first statement said by the interviewer in a management case study interview is one of the most important because it tells you the scope of it, and you have to try really your best not to go out of it. So listen to it carefully, and we are going to go through it one more time. Is so we A client is a famous burger chain in India and has various outlets in major tech cities. Okay. Also, in sometimes in the first line, the interviewer might try to give you a hint about more of what is the client's core competency because it also mentioned that they are in the major tech cities, so it might be possible they are targeting more employees in general. So be on a lookout on these terms. So they are located in various tech cities in India, and Uh, some of the cities are such cities, and they are also located out near major shopping malls. In the past 2 years, they have been facing decline, and we have to figure out the reasons for it. Just to iterate, we need to identify the reasons for the decline in profits of the burger chain and how to improve the profits. Yes, that's correct. Before getting to the analysis, I wanted to know about the business in a little more depth. Um, Is this issue of declining profits pertaining to a particular regions or all three regions? So, this is a typical profitability interview, and a typical profitability interview is divided into three parts. In the first part, you try to understand more of the client's business, what is the competitive scenario, and what is the industry as a whole at this point. In the second part, you try to structure the situation to figure out where exactly is the problem coming from. And in the third part, you provide recommendations and solutions. So right now we're in the first part where we are trying to understand more of the client's business and more of the industry as a whole. So yeah, the candidate has asked, is the problem only in particular regions or all three regions? Which is also one of the important questions because it tells you where to focus on. So if the problem is on all three regions, that means the problem is in the top management and not at particular store. But if the problem is at a particular store level, you have to figure out what is the situation around and in that store specifically. The profits have declined in the Bangalore region. For Hyderabad and Pune region, it has been increasing. Okay. And does the company operate through a franchise model or a self-run business? They are a self-run business. Why is it relevant here? In some of the cases, it might happen that if there is a franchise, then the operations remain standardized. But if they are a self-run business, they could try to change their operations depending on the different regions they're operating. So they might have different streams of revenue or different cost structures. Fair enough. Go ahead. That's a good knowledge to have when asked such questions. What is the difference between franchise model and a self-run business? So now I would like to analyze the reason for the profits declining in Bangalore region by breaking it down the profits into revenue and costs. Okay, so now we are moving to the second part of the interview where we are trying to structure the situation to figure out where the problem is coming from. And in most of the cases in profitability questions, you have to break it down into revenue and costs, which is pretty standard until it's an exceptional profitability question. For this particular case, you can assume that the revenues have remained constant for the past years, but we have seen increase in our cost. Okay, so we are increasing cost. Okay, so are the increasing cost an issue for both the outlets in shopping malls and tech parks or any one of them? The cost for the outlet in shopping mall have remained relatively in line with the revenue of the outlet. To get the idea of the tech park outlets, are those sites typical dine-in only, or they also have different services like drive-through, and what are their operating times? Good question. They operate both dine-ins and drive-through in separate spaces, but in the same area. The dine-ins are operational from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m., but the drive-throughs open in the evening from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. Why is that they are not sharing the same outlet? It's not relevant, but you can assume that there might be some outlet issue related to construction of the drive-through. In this scenario, I would like to break down the cost side by going through the outlets near tech parks, dine-in services, and drive-through services. Further, I would like to divide the cost components into fixed and variable cost. So, for the dine-in, the fixed cost would include the rent of the outlet, maintenance cost, employee salary, licenses, insurance, marketing, and other variable cost would consist of and variable cost would consist of inventory, other utilities such as uniform, hourly payroll. For the drive-through, the fixed cost would include the rent of the premises, the employees' different the the employees' cost, different insurance costs, licensing, and the variable cost would consist of hourly pay of inventory and other utilities, which is mostly the same for both of the cases because both are a restaurant business. Is there anything else I should consider? No, that seems that's a very smart question to ask at the end. If you're not sure you've covered exhaustively anything, you can ask the interviewer, and also remember that interviewer is there to help you out. So if even if you're not sure about something, you can always try to think as much as you can and ask the interviewer if you have covered everything or not, and he will help you out. No, this seems fine. So do we know about the rents and the payrolls for the dine-in outlets? Are they increasing? No, they have remained constant for the past 2 years. You can consider that the fixed cost haven't increased much for them, and also the variable costs are in line with the revenues. You can focus on the drive-throughs. Okay, so the interviewer is trying to direct the candidate that focus only on drive-throughs of tech park. So we are at that situation right now. So in case of drive-through, as I discussed, the fixed cost and variable cost, I am assuming the insurance cost, license, and other utilities have most likely uh, will be most likely constant. So is there any issue with the employee salary and the variable hourly payrolls? Yes, the fixed cost employee salaries have increased significantly, and also the hourly payrolls have gone up. Could you rationalize the reasons? This could be because of the following reasons. The fixed number of employees have increased in the drive-through outlet and their salaries have increased. But if we consider the increase in salary, this would have also affected the dine-in outlets. So this could be attributed to the increase in number of employees owing to the increase owing to the increased footfall. The other reason could be the hourly payrolls have increased for the employees working a late in the night with the numbers also increasing and mostly during the weekends. Seems fine. So, what suggestions would you give to address these issues? Okay, so now we are moving to the third part of the interview where we are providing recommendations and solutions. Till now, we have figured out that the problem is uh, in outlets which are near Tech Park, specifically the drive-through one, in one particular city, and the reasons for that is increased number of rents, and this could be for and the employee have suggested multiple reasons for this would be increased footfall and that for number increased number of employees for that drive through and increase their salaries because they're working late nights. So we are moving to the third part where the candidate will provide suggestions to tackle this problem of increased cost. Okay, so as we have now identified the cause for the increased cost, I will move towards the different recommendations. We need to identify the choke points in the system. So the various components in a drive-through are microphone to place the order, employee listening to the order, movement of the movement of the burger order, the window where the customer interacts with the employee to take order. In the following points to reduce dependence on employees, there are several points that can be automated. The order placed could be connected to a voice recognition system to automate the order placement. The window where the employee gives the customer uh, could be replaced with another type of vending machine where the employee in the kitchen could put the order in a specific segment in the machine, which could be accessed through the OTP given while placing the order. A conveyor could be used to transfer the food from the cooking area to the segments of the vending machine. Another thing that could be done is to see if the number of employees in the night shift, which are on hourly payroll is justified with the number of customers coming in during that time. If it's not justified, the drive-through timings could be changed accordingly. Do we have any data about this arrival patterns? The peak hours are 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Uh, before the average arrival before that, but after 1 p.m. it's very low. So as the arrival is very less during 1 a.m. to 1 p.m., we could I think 1 a.m. to 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. would be something you wanted, right? We could change the operation hours from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. That's good. Do you think capex for automation sector should could be justified? Yes, I think even in the changing technology scenario, automation provides you an added advantage of having a competitive advantage while reducing the redundant work. So, pretty much straightforward conversation between in terms of recommendation. It's mostly surrounded by automating things which can be automated in that outlet to save costs, and then also this model can be replicated in other outlets to also save costs in other outlets. So it would be a very good testing point for such a scenario. So we'll be moving to the second part of the video where I'll be analyzing the interview as a whole. Oh my God, I think the interview is not done. Okay, let's continue. Let's see. I thought the recommendations were over and it was an end of the interview, but I think the suggestions were quite interesting that the interview had kept going on. Continuing on the lines of automation, consider the burger chain contracted some vendors and received a deal for coffee machines. So, where do you think these machines could be used and how do you justify going ahead with this venture? Okay, so to analyze the scenario, we have to look at the consumption pattern of the coffee. Uh, so I would like to analyze the footfall in different regions at different times of the day, and also the coffee demand in the different regions. So is there any data related to that? Yeah, they have already done a market survey in all three regions. So it is found that the coffee drinkers are mostly in Bangalore, followed by Hyderabad and Pune, but not much difference. Also, the footfall is maximum around 9 to 11 a.m. So, do we know anything about the age group of the consumers? Yes, there is a particular age group which consumes more coffee, which is 25 to 40 years. So, can you infer that the given data, infer from the given data that given the particular environment, that there is in these cities, that is tech culture with most of the professionals working in tech firms and arriving to the office effectively at that time when coffee consumption is also at the peak, is it's a valid reference. So yeah, yeah, the candidate is using the first point said by the interviewer where he mentioned that most of the coffee the fast food restaurants are placed near tech parks and malls. So he's using the point where most of the consumers would be the employees of those tech companies. So, in order to deploy the vending machine at most optimal areas, is it necessary that they are near or around major hotspots, that is, around tech parks in all three regions where the working professionals could have easy access to quality coffee without any hassle? So, the coffee vending machines could be used in the outlet near the tech parks to be better placed to succeed in these ventures. Moving the moving to the justification of ventures, do we have any data about the capex of the chain pre-decided for the vending machines, and what are the total number of outlets in these three regions near the tech parks? Okay, there are total four dine-in outlets near the tech parks in Pune. In Hyderabad, there are five dine-ins, and for Bangalore, there are seven dine-in outlets and four drive-through outlets. In Hyderabad and Pune, there is no drive-throughs. They have agreed upon capex of 10.5 lakhs initially. So if we assume that a general vending machine costs around 35,000, so we are able to purchase 30 machines, and to reduce the bottleneck, we can install two machines in each of the outlets, except for the only one in two outlets in Pune. To get to know about the break even, is it safe to assume that the variable cost per dispensed cup is rupees 30, depending on the premium quality, cost of standardized good quality cups, and size of the serving, and what are they thinking about the price per cup of the coffee. So yeah, it's getting too technical, where the candidate is trying to play with numbers of how much it is gonna cost, how much you're gonna sell the coffee for, and um, how much time it is gonna take to recover the money initially invested. So that's pretty good analysis. Go ahead with the assumption. They are thinking of pricing it at around 100 rupees per cup. So we have a fixed price, the variable price, and selling price. So we can find the break-even values for the number of cups to be dispensed for all the three regions. For Bangalore, it's 7,000 cups, Hyderabad 5,000, and Pune 3,000. So if you consider during the peak hours, that is between 9 to 11 a.m., the arrival is 20 per hour, and for the rest of the day, it could have been averaged to 2 per hour. So for the day, it's 42 cups per day. For for Hyderabad, let's assume 80% with respect to Bangalore, and for Pune, let's assume 60% with respect to Bangalore. So the number of cups per day is Hyderabad is 33 and Pune 25. So the investment could be recovered around 170 days, which is approximately half a year. So if they want to use it in different regions and different outlets, they can plan accordingly. So according to me, they should go ahead with this venture. Thanks. That would be all. So that is pretty interesting. Where and there is a second part of the interview. Usually, profitable interview ends when you provide solutions to the initial problems mentioned in the first line. But it was also a very good uh, divergence or a new vertical, where the interviewer took it to another part, where they also mentioned that they were planning to launch something. Now we figure out what should be the financial of it look like to give them confidence to launch this coffee vending machines. So finally, now we'll move to the second part of the interview, where I'll analyze it as a whole to see how the candidate performed. Okay, it's very important to have a very clear and crisp notes, because sometimes at the end of the interview, the interviewer might ask for your notes, and he should be able to understand everything in one glance. Interview notes. Reduce profits over a 2-year period time because of increased cost. Identify the issues on the cost side. Two types of outlet: tech park, mall outlets. Issue only in tech park outlets. Identify the value chain choke points for vending machines, consumption patterns, and age groups. Justify capex to break even analysis. Some case facts were: increasing cost. Clients has 20 burger joints in three regions with a problem in Bangalore region, tech parks and mall outlets. Coffee vending machine peak hours consumption is 9 to 11 a.m. Capex for vending machines is 10.5 lakhs. So this is one of the most important part, where you actually structure the problem. This is something which the interviewer usually sees after the interview, how well you have thought it through while structuring it. So profits, as usual, is divided into revenue and cost. Problem was on cost side. Costs were divided into mall outlets and tech park outlets. And the mall out. Okay, so the problem was on the tech park outlets and the mall outlets, because there was initially the candidate has divided into fixed cost and variable cost, and some of the cost which or fixed cost. Some of the problem which was the variable cost problem would be applied to both of the sides. So in the mall outlet, the rent and salaries were one something to look at because of the late night workers. The salaries could be optimized. The tech bar outlets, there are dine-ins and drive-throughs. Um, in the dine-ins, there were no problems. In the drive-throughs, there were some problems. Um in the fixed cost, the problems were in terms of salaries. In the variable cost, the problem was in terms of hourly payrolls, which is almost in similar lines to salaries. Okay, I think it's not pretty well put because they have colored a lot of things in blue which were not initially the problem in the initial case discussed. Usually, the problem were just one, which was the hourly payroll was not justified. In the second case, while launching the coffee shop, it's a different scenario where you figure out how what the financial should look like to launch it. But the main problem which was discussed was the hourly payrolls was not justified by the candidate. But it's a very good thing that a candidate has divided everything exhaustively, which gives you a very good idea. If you just neglect the color scheme, and if you see how things are divided, you can also see that drive-throughs were divided into fixed cost and variable cost. Fixed costs were divided into marketing, salaries, maintenance, and licensing, and rent. And variable cost was divided into inventory, hourly payrolls, and utilities. Yeah, and also the candidate has broken down the supply chain into different parts, which was order on microphone, order received, processing, and delivery for window. And he provided recommendations for these optimizing these two parts, which can be automated with a machine. So some of the recommendations provided by the candidate is use automation in the value chain of the drive-in to reduce the number of employees to keep the salaries of the employees under control. To keep the costs related to hourly payroll less, change our operating hours from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. For vending machines, install the vending machines in the outlets near the tech parks and go ahead with the venture. Some of the observations, suggestions for the interview is it is necessary to understand the business model of the chain, even if there's some doubt, clarify it to get a clear picture of the issue. So, the interview is always there to help you. So, if you have a doubt, ask him. Along with this, it's important to understand the value chain of the offering, which the candidate does pretty well by breaking it down into different components. So that was a pretty big case study interview, and it was a bit messy. It was not very clear, very structured, I must say. But the candidate was able to come out with identifying the problem and giving recommendations. So that was pretty well done. Not the best case study interview, but it was the candidate was able to get by it, so it was good enough. So if you have a case study interview coming up, all the best for it. And if you're looking to build a career in consulting and want to get prepared for case study interview, following this channel and watching one video every day is a very good practice of getting into that mindset. And since I'll be uploading one video every day, do subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any. And with that, I will say thank you for watching and have a nice day.